guys, just explain what we have here. These guys are really, they've been wiped out almost all throughout their original range, which was all over the Ohio River drainage. And there's one part of the Allegheny where they're really abundant, and that's right over. It's from Warren. How far south does it go? Down to Tidiute, down to Kennerdell.
Yeah, with Foxburg they were loaded.
Foxburg, yeah.
Hamilton.
So, what we've there are more there than there are any place else in the world, really. Well, it's the only place that they're really abundant. So, since they're endangered, what we have to do is, if there's any construction in the river, we've got to remove them after we go through like years and years of back and forth, negotiation and stuff. And we've got a very strict protocol that we have to follow. So these came from Tidiute, where National Fuel Gas wants to replace a pipeline that's leaking. So they've got to go in and take the pipeline out, and they've got to put a new one in. So before they can do any of that, we went into the river and made a bunch of, with ropes and stakes, made a bunch of search cells, and we searched each cell 3 times and removed all the mussels from that corridor where they're going to disturb the bottom. And we've got all the endangered ones we found here. The state of Pennsylvania took all the common ones and they're putting them in streams where they've been wiped out, but the water quality's come back again. So they're getting delivered elsewhere by fish and boat. But these guys, this particular species is northern riffle shell. And you want to find a male.
Yep.
These are females, and they don't come with these numbers and stuff on them. We have to number each one, measure each one. We put a glitter tag on them, and we've got these other numbers, of course. Plus this is a little microchip. So it's the kind that you put in dogs and stuff like that, or livestock or whatever. And each one of these has a specific number. So we put these in the bottom, and then that machine right there detects them. It'll tell you the number. And when we come back, we have to come back, in 2 years or 3? 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year?
Probably.
Yeah. And see where they've gone and try to dig them up and see if they're still alive and all that. And see if they've grown. Because a lot of times, they'll be happy and they'll grow, and sometimes they won't. But these guys are females. You can see the big round back end. See how round that is compared to the males. The tail heads right there. They've got a more pointy end. So they're males and females, and we're going to try to put the males upstream and the females downstream, because the males release sperm into the water, and the females will filter sperm out on their gills. And it's a weird way of having sex. And they have their eggs on the gills too. So fertilization takes place on the gills, and then that fertilized egg grows into a larva. That's called a glochidium, that needs to have a fish host to survive. So it's a parasite then. It's really weird. So they have to have the right fish at the right time, and the females will kind of open up their shell. Does this species actually grab the fish? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
They call it epioplasm.
Yeah.
For most of them.
So the female will open up the back end of the shell and display this big white area, and the fish will come and look in there and thinks it's food. The female clamps the shell shut, and pumps the fish full of larvae and then lets the fish go. So the larvae live on the fish for a few weeks. The fish move all over the place, and the mussels get distributed that way. After that time period, juvenile mussel falls off, attaches to some gravel on the bottom with some sticky threads, and then hopefully grows into an adult. But they're little, and lots can happen to little things in rivers. So survivorship isn't always that great. So anyway, that's kind of the life cycle. But the way they live is they'll be down in the bottom, sort of like that, with their back end sticking up. And they have a foot that they stick out. It's a really soft, sort of white thing that sticks down into the gravel. And if conditions get bad, like, get high water or low water, they'll pull themselves down into the bottom and maintain their position in the water. Any questions so far? That's kind of the life cycle. And one of the tough things about the life cycle is if there's a big fish kill and all the fish die, these guys can't reproduce. And they need the right species of fish. They can't just use carp or anything like that.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on what species that fish is?
Do you remember some kind of darters?
Yeah.
Gilt darter?
I think,
Could be, yeah.
and logwood.
Yeah. They're like big darters with bands on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have them. I know we have the log perch.
Uh-huh.
And we have gilt darter in here as well.
Mm-hmm. So you have the host fish. And we checked this area out down here. Some years ago, we did a bridge at Hunter Station on the Allegheny and pulled a whole bunch out. And we took, how many, like 100 up here or something?
Initially, yeah.
Yeah.
We had, I think it was a pilot study of 50 at each site, the 3 sites, and then the next year, I think if the pilot study went well, I think we brought 1,000. And now,
That's right.
now that it's established, I think we can put as many as there's habitat for. So.
Yeah. So we got, I don't know if you were out there with us. I think you were when the Fish and Wildlife wanted all those quadrat samples in the bottom and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Over there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, initially they wanted some huge, but we got some good data. There were enough mussels in there, a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
That they said, okay, this is great. You can use it as a relocation site for the pipeline project.
Can you explain a little on how we're going to be planting these into the gravel beds, both male and female?
Yeah, basically,
You guys need to pay attention.
you can
This is
see
what we're
there's
gonna do.
this front part. This is the front of the mussel. They don't have eyes. They don't have anything, so they don't have heads, but they kind of move this way, so we call that the front. And you kind of grab these things like this and sort of protect them with your fingers and wiggle them down into the bottom. And then just leave them there.
And how much are we leaving exposed? Just the tip, right?
Like that much, if you
Probably
can.
3/4.
Yeah. As long as they're situated down there, within a few hours they'll open up and they'll pull themselves down. So, why are these mussels important at all? We really didn't know for a long time what they did ecologically, but what they do is they both the males and the females have gills, and they filter food material from the river, like plankton, one-celled animals, and all, one-celled plants and things like that, and some bigger stuff. And they'll pull that down onto the gills, and it gets stuck in mucus. And these strands of mucus with food go over to the mouth. And if the stuff isn't, if they don't like it, they kind of dribble the mucus down into the river bottom, and it sits there. but they'll clarify the water, and all this rejected food and all of their feces after they digest it, they'll dump that in the river bottom, and all the insects there eat that. So they support, they're kind of the food base for a lot of the insects. And the insects form the base of the food chain for the fish. So they're really important in maintaining good fish populations, good fish habitat. They stabilize the river bars with their mucus and so on. It kind of makes the sand and gravel stick together slightly. So the gravel bars get stable, river structure stable, and you get a good fish community and fairly clear water. Light can get down to the bottom, and algae can grow on the rocks and everything. So they're really important ecologically. They're sensitive. One of the reasons we're putting them back in this section of the river, I think, is that Olean, is it? There used to be a lot of industry up there, and they just, before their regulations, they just dumped everything in the river. And these guys had a hard time with that. So they're also food for muskrats and otters. And what else?
Raccoons.
Raccoons, yeah.
Freshwater
Raccoons. People have eaten them. There are a lot of shell middens, piles of dead shells around on the Mississippi, in the Ohio, and everything, where Native American populations have eaten these. They're good food, but they're horribly chewy. It's like chewing a rubber ball, and after a while you chew something like for 20 minutes and you get really sick of it. But if you don't have anything else, it'll keep you alive till the next season when other things become available. So I've tried to eat these, and they're not fun. I tried chopping them up and putting them in soup, and it's just horrible. I tried boiling them, like you'd boil a saltwater clam. And they have so much elastic connective tissue in, they kind of scrunch up. And I tried bouncing it on the floor, and it bounced, the floor hit the ceiling and then bounced on the floor again. The dog wouldn't eat them. So, they're not great stuff, but they are nutritious. Some species are less rubbery than others.
You guys have any questions?
How long do they live for?
Oh, these mussels I have in here are probably 15 or 20 years old. Some of them live for 100 years or more. So, a lot of the bigger species don't reach maturity until they're teenagers. It's like us. And then, they have a lifespan similar to ours. So if you wipe them out, it takes a long time to come back. And they've actually figured out how they can harvest the larvae from the females and put them in the laboratory. They have these culture dishes of medium that they've developed, and they can culture like 40,000 mussels in a little culture cabinet, and then let them go.
That sounds like a really good project. I'd like to do
Yeah,
something like
yeah, you could do that. It's apparently not that difficult. You just have to keep it sterile.
that. And if you have these in your water, you're lucky. They're indicators of good, clean water, correct?
Absolutely. We're going to break these up, and we're all going to carry them down with us. If you drop the bag, it's most of these are. Make sure they're kind of tied off a little bit. Just have a loop around here like that.
Big bag, big bait.
See how we fare here. It's hard to believe. We drove almost all the way out to the bridge there on that gravel bar.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.